So my name is Kirsten Loberg. I am part of the Vegetarianism and Mental Health group. So I'm just going to be going over a little bit of the information that we put in our slides. This is my trusty video partner, Norman. He will be just observing today. So our topic was vegetarianism and mental health. Our project reflects how vegetarianism has a negative effect on mental health. A little bit of background: vegetarianism dates all the way back to Greece, 580 BC, and was practiced by a variety of religions like Hinduism and early Christianity, as an example. People such as John Locke, Leonardo da Vinci, Harvey Kellogg, and Gandhi famously followed the vegetarianism. Some countries have strong cultural or religious traditions that promote vegetarianism. A study from 2010 estimated that approximately 1.4 million people are vegetarians of necessity and another 75 million of choice. They make up approximately 21.8% of the world's population. And at this time period, it is a growing phenomenon. Citing reasons for that are the fact that vegetarians cite environmental concerns, food safety concerns as to what's actually going into their food, if they're getting animal products, animal welfare, which is an ethical standpoint, and then also things like weight loss and weight management are pretty important to them. However, the question we're asking today is, does vegetarianism have a negative effect on mental health? Common hypotheses state that vegetarianism causes and or increases the risk of depressive disorders, cancer, and anxiety, especially in men. Vegetarians, in comparison to like an omnivore-based diet, were reported to have poorer health, have worse preventive healthcare practices, and have lower quality of life, which is actually in a study that we're going to talk about in just a moment. They were also found, vegetarians, to have a higher incidence rate of cancer and suffer significantly more from anxiety and depressive disorders. The primary article that we'll talk about first is Burkhart's article investigating the difference between dietary habits and several health-related variables. The results were found by comparing those in different types of diets, and they filled out a self-assessment based on their health, their impairments, their chronic conditions, as well as a list of healthcare and their quality of life. It was this study that reported that the vegetarian-based diet had poorer health care preventive practices and a lower quality of life. The same people reported more issues with anxiety and depressive disorders, but the real limitation with this original study is that they were reporting it by themselves. It wasn't necessarily that the people doing the study were kind of viewing it. It was just what people kind of thought about their own health based on their conditions and that kind of stuff. Our supporting articles, though, show that although some physical attributes are better for those that are vegetarians, they still report poorer mental health and a higher average of depression scores than people who are omnivores. The physical part, though, is that for vegetarians, they typically have a lower BMI and suggest that they're healthier physically. But at the same time, women report menstrual problems, and poor mental health could be of clinical significance in that case. Anyway, so we also considered counter-arguments to try and figure out if mental health which way it's affected by vegetarianism. These looked at the mood and the stress and anxiety in vegetarians versus non-vegetarians. The first counter-article showed that vegetarians often have less negative emotion than omnivores. But in that study, the sample size was so large that the questions were very general, and it might not have been that easy to differentiate in that case. And the other counter article that we considered showed vegetarians report less stress and anxiety and some additional benefits to being a vegetarian, such as the consumption of animal fat itself leads to heart disease and cognitive decline, such as Alzheimer's, so you could avoid that by following a vegetarian diet. And also that ingesting many fruits and vegetables have a beneficial result on reducing anxiety and stress. However, from our perspective, eating as an omnivore in moderation can reduce the negative effects of animal products, and we're supposed to include fruits and vegetables anyway, so I don't, I feel like you can kind of get the best of both worlds in that scenario. So our final word in this entire project is that vegetarianism is not beneficial for mental health. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, but other than that, that's it.